Hello, it's Sony Photographer. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a higher megapixel photo than your camera can shoot. So let's say your camera can only shoot like 15 megapixels or 20 megapixels, but you want to create a 50 or 100 megapixel photo. Well, this video is going to be for you. I'm going to be showing you how to take multiple photos and stitch them together and to create a one beautiful photo. So why would you need such a large photo? If you're printing photos, you really need a lot of detail, especially the larger the prints get, the larger the megapixel need to be. This requirement might be put by you or your clients. The basic component under this feature is stitching photos. I'm going to be using Adobe's Photoshop CC, and I'm going to be taking a bunch of photos and combining them together. So the way you do it is if you take one photo zoomed out, preferably you should have a zoom lens. You could have multiple lenses. You could have one wide angle lens and one prime maybe, but it's much easier to do it with a zoom. So you could take one picture when you're zoomed out, and you could divide different segments of your image and divide them. So let's say you could divide your image into 12 different components and take a picture of them individually zoomed in. So once you put them back together, you have the same image but a lot more detail. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now before the sun sets. And I'm going to take a picture of some of the stuff in the background with some houses, trees. We can really see the detail in the comparison after we finish the photos. So let's get started. So I wanted to show the zoomed out image in video on the camera. And then I'm going to switch to my phone and show the actual shooting part. So this is how it looks. This is going to be my frame. Those are the apartment complexes, and there's some trees and there's some water down there below. So I'm going to be dividing this image into multiple images. So I might take like this part first and this part again, that part. So take multiple photos, and then in the end I'm going to stitch them together. So when I was recording outside, when I switched to my phone, for some reason the audio doesn't play on my computer now. There's no audio in the cell phone videos. So I'm going to continue it from here by recording my screen on my computer. So the way I shot the photo is, like I explained before, I took this initial photo and then I pretty much split it up into multiple photos. And here are the rest of the photos. There's about 44 photos. Thing is, by the end of the last few images, it was getting pretty dark. So if you look over here, you could see the sky is getting a little bit darker, and then if I open, for example, this image, it's a little bit darker here. I was doing these as like long exposures, like 1 second exposures. So it took me some time to take each photo because my camera would run the noise reduction for long exposure photos. So I had to wait. So by the time I was done, it was pretty dark. So the way you do this is, so I've already done this in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this in Photoshop. This is the image that I took, and the final result is here. I'm not going to show it yet. But once you have all your photos in one folder, so this one, I didn't include this photo because it is full sensor image of the whole frame, but I wanted to split that up. So do not just include the photos that you want to stitch together. Once you have them in a folder, you go to Photoshop, you go to File, and then you go to Automate. And then you go all the way down to Photo Merge. Once you get here, it'll give you different layouts. So I usually select Auto. I let Photoshop take care of it. So in here you have files. You can either include individual files or you can include a folder. So I'll usually go to my folder. So I selected my folder, and then it will start scanning and importing the photos here. It starts adding all the photos. Since I'm not using the first photo, once this finishes, I'll select the first one and just remove. And then I usually do geometric distortion correction and content aware full transparent areas. So once you press OK, it takes about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. For me, I think it took like 10 minutes. It takes a while because it's like analyzing each photo in detail, and the bigger your photos are, the A6300 shoots in 24 megapixels. That will take longer. So I'll show you the finished product. So once it's finished, it looks like this. This is how mine looked like. And as you can see in here, the grass has like different exposure because I took this photo when I just started. I went down from here all the way down here, and then I took the rest of the parts later. But you can easily adjust each parts, but I was just trying to get a quick result. I was running out of time. Plus it was long exposure photos, so there might have been some shake. So I wanted to show you the difference in photos. So this is the photo that we took. As you can see, we fit more into our frame than here. I shot here at 24 millimeters with the Zeiss 24-70, and I shot this with 44 images taken at 70 millimeters. So as you can see, we're gonna have a lot more detail from this photo. So let's zoom into this window over here to get the comparison of sharpness. So I'm at a 100% right now, and then in my other image, I'll zoom into the same window, and we're at 100% right now. So you can see the difference. This is 100% and this is 100%. So let's see how much we can zoom into here until we start losing detail. So already you can't see a lot of the detail from this window. As I zoom in, as you can see, at 500% has detail, but it's just like very pixelated. You can see individual pixels and colors. But in this photo, if I go 500%, it goes this much. So as you can see, you can get a lot more detail from your photos. This is not the best scenario. I could have shot in a better lit environment and with a more interesting subject, but I just wanted to demonstrate this idea and this technique really quickly. It's pretty simple to do. It just requires a lot of patience, and you have to make sure all your shots are taken from the same spot, or else your perspective might change and Photoshop is going to have a hard time stitching them together. So this will happen when you have a lot of trees. Some of the branches are not going to continue. They will break down and continue maybe like a few centimeters away. So just make sure to take the pictures from the same place with the same settings. Don't put it on auto. Make sure everything is in manual. Exposure, aperture, focus, and shutter speed. Make sure your exposure compensation is the same. Then, as you can see at the bottom here, let me deselect. As you can see in the bottom here, it looks a little weird. You can see how the crop in some detailed parts, it doesn't look right. Since this was like the edge of the photo, I had to move the tripod. Not everything was perfect. I didn't get maybe enough images. The exposures didn't match. So this is definitely not perfect, but in the middle, it did a really good job. I'm gonna crop this photo and try to get a similar crop. Maybe I'll remove like the bottom part here. So let's crop it. There we go. Let's do a 16:9 crop. And okay. So let's crop this. Also, if you want to save this as a file, Photoshop has a limit of 2 gigabytes per PSD. If you want to save it as a project, you have to save it as a PSB. That's like a large size format. And the project file for this Photoshop file is 4.4 gigabytes. So with 44 images, you're gonna have a 4.4 gigabyte Photoshop file. And that's also with JPEGs, 24 megapixel JPEGs. If you use DNGs or raw images, it's gonna be even bigger. So make sure you have a lot of space and a lot of memory in your system, because this will take up a lot of memory on your computer. As you can see, the cropping is taking some time. Even my CPU is getting warmer from this cropping job. So this is the cropped version. Let me export this to export as. We'll do a JPEG. So I finished exporting the final JPEG, and it's just 50.6 megabytes. So let me open it. This is the normal version and this is the stitch version. As you can see, the colors are a bit different, obviously, since this is just one photo and this is 44 photos. And plus I cropped this photo. So if we zoom into this photo, we have retained a lot more detail compared to the photo on the left. So let's go to that window again. Right here. And then in here, let's go to that window again. And here you can see the difference. It's really noticeable, and you can really get a lot more detail out of your photos. And I could have done a better job. I could have picked a better place, but this still demonstrates the point and shows that it's relatively simple and easy to do this small trick, and you can have really high megapixel photos. Granted, you have Adobe Photoshop in your computer. I'm sure there's some other programs that can do this as well. So let's check how many megapixels this photo is. 13,223 times 7,437. 98 million pixels, so that's about 98 megapixels. So we got close to 100 megapixels. That's with the crop. If the rest of the image was better or more usable, could have had a even bigger, probably like 120, 130 megapixel photo. And if you want to print this on a wall, you have a nice maybe landscape or some building that you want to take a picture of, this is really useful. So I highly recommend this trick if you want to do print. I want to thank you for watching. I really enjoy making videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think of this. Bye.